A very warm welcome to you once again. Today we are going to be learning a little bit about the Cisco Packet Tracer. This is an excellent simulation tool if you want to build networks and simulate them on the computer before you actually go out and build the network. And it's a great learning tool as well. So what we need to do first is to download Cisco Packet Tracer. I'm going to paste this link into the description section of this lecture so that you can download it from there. Once you download Cisco Packet Tracer and install it, and you launch the application, and this is the screen you should be seeing. I find you can sign it different ways in here, but I find that registering this using the green button seems to be a little bit easier. So what I do here is I'm going to click on the skills for all Cisco in here. And this will bring up the logon page. Now what I've done is I have registered myself with Google to make life easier for myself. Okay, so in here, I'm gonna just stop this here. I'm gonna log on myself. I'm gonna stop recording momentarily. All right, so I've logged in using my Google account in here, right? So this is the screen you will be observing once you log in. Now, just to explain you a few little things, there are a few tabs here. You can hover here and learn what they actually do, right? There's kind of basic ones, right? That you will see up here for saving and finding a new file and so on and so forth. But the most important tools are going to be here at the bottom, right? In here, you can click on this here. And then these pertains to network devices. Once you click on this tool, you'll get some subtools which you will see in here. So they will start with, you can see as I hover over these tools, they'll tell me exactly what they are. So this is a router in a circular format. This is the switch. As you can see, the name is changing along. And this over here is a hub. This over here is a wireless device. This here is security related device. And here is a WAN emulation. If I go here, this talks about end devices. We were here before, we talked about network devices. We have end devices. So here we'll see different devices available to us, right? The end devices here, there's the home, there's the smart city, and industrial, as well as power grid. But before I go further, sorry, let me backtrack just a little bit. When you go to network devices and you can see the routers and the switches and so on, and the hubs, when you look at the routers over here, you'll see the different routers available to you, the different models of Cisco routers available to you. Okay, and you can scroll here and see more routers available to you. Then similarly, if you go to a switch, you'll see different types of switches available to you, from the very simple ones to the more sophisticated ones, right? If you go to end devices, then what you will see here, you'll see PCs, a laptop, a server, a Meraki server, network controller, and so on and so forth. There's a printer as well, voice over IP. So you can simulate quite a few things in here. So let's start by trying to build a very small network. So what you're going to do here is we're going to start with putting in a PC in place. So here we're going to drag a PC, indicating that this is going to be our first device in here. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to connect it to a switch. So we're going to look at the network device. We're going to take this switch. We're going to choose a simple switch, a 2960 switch, and drag it here. So what we need to do is to connect the switch. But as you can see over here, once we do that, we get information about what type of a switch this is. Now, of course, we can kind of look into the information about 2960 on the internet and find exactly what that entails. But also over here, as I hover over the switch, the details show over here as well. Okay, so if I click on the switch here, you can see some more informational aspects in here. We'll come to that in just a moment, but let's go over the switch again, hover over it for a second here. You can see this switch has 24 fast Ethernet ports. The fast Ethernet implies 100 megabits per second. And then there are 2 gigabit ports in here, sorry, which are basically 1 gig or 1,000 megabits per second. So you have fast Ethernet, which is 100 megabits per second. We have gigabit ports, which are 1,000 megabits per second, right? So 10 times faster, right? So this is 24 ports, 100 base T, and then we have 2 gigabit Ethernet ports, right? Each and every port, as you can see, belongs by default to VLAN 1, and the link by default is going to be down, right? And it will have its own, each and every port will have its own associated MAC address. If I click on this switch here, this will bring up another window. This will show me the physical structure of this switch. So this switch in here, you can see one of the sides of the switch is over here. The second side, the back part is over here. So in the front, you will see the 24 fast Ethernet ports. And then you will see the 2 gigabit ports, right? And then at the back, you'll see the wiring to get you to the power supply, and there'll be console access as well. Okay. Now, when you need to configure the switch, you can either go look at this configuration portion of things, in which you can specify certain parameters within here. But for the switch, what we will try to do is try to do the CLI mode. This is really replicating a Cisco switch, and you see here that the information when you start up a Cisco switch and we connect to the console, this is exactly what you will see on Cisco switch. So this is pretty much reminiscent of what you will see on a real Cisco switch. So that makes a lot of sense that we can actually learn a lot from here. Okay, so we'll come to that in just a moment. So you can see here we have a switch, we have a PC connected to it as well. Well, we haven't yet connected the switch, but we would like to connect the PC to the switch here. So here comes the connectivity part. So if you look at here, you can see when you hover over here, you can see the name changes to connections, right? So here we have automatically choose connection type. You can see this information here, automatically choose connection type, or we can specify console or copper straight through. Remember we were talking about in previous lectures about the straight through cable? There is one which is a crossover cable. Remember we talked about the crossover cable as well? And here is the fiber cable if there's fiber optics connectivity involved, right? And then there's the phone connection, there's the coax cable, there is the serial DCE, DTE, we haven't talked about that yet, and so on and so forth, okay? So here we go. So what we're going to do here is we're going to choose a straight through copper cable, right? This is what we need to connect a PC to a switch, because the switch ports, as we noticed before, were automatically switched over, right? So we don't need a crossover cable. So now we're going to connect here. Now, when you click on the PC, it'll ask you which port are you going to connect the cable to. So we're going to choose connection from the fast Ethernet 0 port to one of the ports on the switch. Now it'll give us different ports on the switch. We click on here. It will ask us which port would we like to connect this cable to. So we're going to choose the first fast Ethernet port to connect to. Now, when you connect in here, you can see that you have one green arrow, but you still have one orange arrow. So initially, this is actually simulating the real life. When you first connect a PC to a switch, it may not turn the port on right away. There's a learn mode that happens. The learn mode is there to make sure that you are not creating a loop within the network called the spanning tree. Okay, so after a few seconds, right, eventually the switch is satisfied that there's no loop in the network, and now you can see the arrow has changed to green. So now as we hover over this link, it tells you the information in here as well, that we are connected to the fast Ethernet port. And here you can see the fast Ethernet port on here on the switch itself is showing as being up, right? Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to specify an IP address for the PC itself. So let's go to the PC itself. We will use a simple approach for the PC for configuration reasons, right? So this is pretty simple. You do it normally in a window. However, so here we can do it in this config window over here. So let's go into this PC. You can see PC 0. So this is the PC that we are configuring. We'll go to the fast Ethernet over here, and you can see we can configure an IP address. So we leave the IP configuration to be static and give it an IP address. So this is going to be 192.168, for example, .1.10. And then we're going to have a subnet mask. The subnet mask indicates basically a 255.255.255 implies that the first 3 octets are going to be the network address, and the final octet is going to be actually the host address. We don't need to worry about IP version 6. We will learn about IP version 6 at a later time. But so at this moment in time, let's focus on this IP address. So we have the fast Ethernet port here on this PC. Just make sure everything is on. So the port status is on. It has auto configuration in terms of the speed. So automatically it has found that it connected 100 megabits per second because it is connected to 100 megabits per second switch port, right? And then it's going to go full duplex because basically we would like to take advantage of communication in both directions simultaneously. This is what full duplex is all about, right? So here we go. So now we have configured this particular computer. What we can do here, now that we have the IP address, we can go to the desktop portion in here and go to the command prompt. Okay. So here in the command prompt, I can go here, ipconfig. And when we do the ipconfig, you can see here, for example, we see an IP4 address 192.168.1.10 that we have configured. And we see the subnet mask showing up in here as well, right? So everything looks good. What you want to do at this time maybe is save the config because we don't want to lose this config as we move along, right? So let's go file save in here. Okay, and let's save this as demo 1. Okay, save this. It's demo 1, save. Okay, so this is demo 1 that we are saving in here. We got the IP address. Now what we want to do is we would like to configure the switch. Okay, so this we will continue in the next lecture. We're already running out of time for this specific one, but you can see now we have come to the process of installing the Cisco Packet Tracer, which is pretty easy to install. I'll give you the link of where you can download it from in case you cannot find it, and then install it and set up the PC and the switch, connect them together and configure the switch. Then, I'm sorry, configure the PC first. And next time we're going to be learning about configuring the switch itself. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today. I hope to see you again next time. Take care. Have a good one. Cheers.